Live. I just saw your message. What's going on there? As far as trying to get, especially out of the tunnel turn, I mean, you don't have a very long straightaway before you hit that almost flat turn out of 3. And I mean, there's no turn 4. So that long straightaway on the front is going to be your moneymaker, especially getting off a 3. How do you plan on trying to get out of there?
There's a couple of ways you can work turn 3. And I think you kind of see it in real life too, where you can run the bottom, but you can also make the second lane work. So I think you'll see a lot of side-by-side racing. It'll be hard to complete that pass on the inside as you come through 3. So my goal is to not really go into the corners and be side-by-side, just make the runs off the corner and try to get it done before you get to the next one.
All right, something I learned this week during some B Opens, if nobody's like swerving on the front stretch trying to break the draft or anything, you definitely want to stay on that outside line. So I'm going to be if I try to make any moves into 3, I hope don't have to dive bomb anybody, because then if I don't make the pass, I'm going to be stuck on the inside without drafting help. So I'm going to try to move to the outside if I can.
All right, fellas, well, listen, good luck the rest of the way, and I'm sure that I'll talk to at least one of you during one of our stage breaks. So good luck, go with God, don't take any wooden nickels.
Go O's.
Sir. Go Phils.
Go Phillies. Well, folks, that, of course, were both of those great drivers from over there at Ferta Motorsports. Always glad to have them with us here in the broadcast booth. And right now, the warm-up is complete as we get that driver info out of the way. We'll go ahead and we will get that qualifying grid up here, as several drivers opting not to lay down times from 14th all the way back here to 22nd at the rear of the field. So a lot of drivers deciding maybe they want to try to start a little conservatively tonight, which is something that, to be completely honest, probably not a bad deal if you think about it. Taking a look right now at our starting grid. Mike Wright going to lead us off here in pole position, joined by Joseph Lester having outside pole, the young man out of Damascus, Virginia, still driving with that injured right throttle foot. So we're going to see some interesting moves out of the young man from Damascus. Bennett Allen out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, going to be starting on the inside of row number 2, joined by our points leader from Buenos Aires, Eugenio Alonso, on the outside of row number 2. Row number 3 made up of Brandon Minto and Aaron Mack, with Chris Claude out of Fairview, Tennessee, joined by R.P. Allen from Great Falls, Montana, on the outside of row number 4. Row number 5 made up of Ron Fitting from Sumter, South Carolina, and Tony Burt from Hedgesville, West Virginia. Of course, Tony Burt, the chief cook and bottle washer at the A Lot Cleaner Property Management and Maintenance Company. Make sure to reach out to him on Facebook and get all of your lot cleaning needs and everything else that they have to offer at A Lot Cleaner Property Management and Maintenance. Row number 6 made up of Dan Morgan and Zachary Vaughn. Row number 7 has Joe Stafford out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, making his return back here to the Tricky Triangle. And on the outside of row number 7, going to be Rich Jett with a Washington Nationals paint scheme here on the double natural Chevrolet Camaro. Steve Herring has a Miami Marlins paint scheme here. Of course, it is Hall of Fame week for the National Baseball Hall of Fame up there in Cooperstown, New York. John Wilco from, well, you guessed it, McAdoo, Pennsylvania, about 25 minutes west of the racetrack here. He's going to be starting in the number 62 Detroit Tigers Chevrolet Camaro. Leo Bonacasa, the godfather of Money House Racing, starting in the number 45 on the inside of row number 9, joined by Orlando, Florida's very own Nicholas Breidenbach. My good friend and partner here at Sim Racing Media, Mr. Matt Metler, driving the number 64 Ford Mustang, has Zach Osborne on the outside of row number 10 to join him here. Starting shotgun on the field going to be Alexander Gangler and Lauren Jones, but they will not be taking the green flag as we are underway here at Pocono Racing. drivers fanning out behind Mike Wright, who got a good jump over the rest of the field. And it is mayhem at the rear. You can't even tell who that is. I think that's the 89 of Steve Herring on his roof. Bad things are happening already. Let's take a run back and see. Take a look at this as Chris Claude, oh, it looks like Tony Burke got under Chris, got him turned, and oh, boom goes the dynamite. Oh, so many drivers be wrecked out early on. Definitely not the way that Chris wanted to start his evening. Hopefully we can get back here live racing, as it looks like Chris has gotten back out on track. Going to take a look at this from Ron Fitting's perspective. As we see these drivers heading down the backstretch into turn 2. We can see Burt sliding up as he tightened up. Ron Fitting getting the nose there, and oh, what a mess to start this race. Back here live at Pocono Raceway. Well, we didn't even get a chance to talk about this yet, as obviously first caution coming out early here. 90 total laps this evening here at Pocono. Stage breaks tonight are going to be at lap number 20 and lap number 40. So at the conclusion of lap number 20, when the 10th place car crosses the stripe, we will have a competition caution. Same deal goes for lap number 40 at the conclusion of lap number 40. Driver's going to have 5 total sets of tires tonight, 4 changes, so laying 4 and having a total of 5. So that should probably make pit stops a little bit easier to navigate. But once those tires start to fall off, we're going to see some slip sliding around, especially on a hot racetrack like we have tonight. In fact, we'll take another look here now that we've gotten to our race time and temperature, as track temperature right now here at 92, so it's cooled off by a degree, and you would think that 1 degree doesn't make a lot of difference. Really, in the grand scheme, it doesn't, but it might be a little bit of an extra grip there in the racetrack this evening. Two cars still on the lead lap, still out on the racetrack tonight. Ron Fitting still down on pit road getting service completed. Zach Osborne and Steve Herring, of course, Herring, the driver who was upside down, managing to get back out onto the racetrack. Good for him. Trying to fix some audio issues here. As the iRacing.com pace car dives down pit road, Mike Wright enters the Geico restart zone, and we're back underway. Bennett Allen jumping out to our race lead in front of Mike Wright. As Mike Wright's going to chase him down the backstretch into turn 2, the tunnel turn. We enter the tunnel turn. Mike Wright peeking to the inside, but choosing to stay behind Bennett Allen until we get down here into turn 3. However, one driver who's not going to be satisfied is the boy king, Joseph Lester. As Lester works the inside of Mike Wright, hopefully not cooking up too much of that car so far. As they are side-by-side crossing the stripe, Lester getting credit for second position that time by. But he now looks once again to the inside of Wright as they dive it into turn 1. And they are doing battle door handle to door handle here on lap number 6 of 90. Joseph Lester now sliding in front of Mike Wright, and Mike Wright not going to be going to bed easy tonight as he's now looking to that left rear quarter panel of the 84 Barbie Chevrolet. Of course, Barbie, one of the largest grossing movies in history over the weekend. As now they go single file, and Mike Wright decides maybe against, at least for now, doing battle with Joseph Lester so early in this race. Meanwhile, Joe Stafford looking to the inside now of Zach Vaughn. Zach Vaughn going high and getting tight in the 91 as Philadelphia, Pennsylvania's very own Joe Stafford dives it in front of him and secures away 7th position. Stafford buying a piece of wall, stays out of the way. Let's run back and take a look at that. Taking a look at Joe Stafford here, high over top. Oh, maybe he got a little nudge there from the 91 of Zach Vaughn. I'm sure we'll hear about that later this evening, that's for sure. Joe Stafford back on pace now as we take a look up through the field here. Mike Wright once again side by side with Joseph Lester. He's now trying to hold off Eugenio Alonso and Joseph Lester at the same time, all of a sudden making that number 98 Orioles Ford Mustang too wide, holding off both of these talented drivers, diving it here into the tunnel turn once again. Of course, here at Pocono in the hills of Pennsylvania, we've got all kinds of different activities that you can do up here. Of course, you can go check out Kalahari. It's a big resort right outside of Pocono Raceway, about a half hour away. And I'll tell you what, great indoor water park. You can check that out. Or, of course, Lake Harmony and the Split Rock Resort just down the road, literally just down the road from the racetrack. And one of the most northern Wawas you'll ever find at Route 115 and Route 940 up here in the mountains. So plenty to do and lots to see. Of course, also a Rusty Wallace racing experience up here at Pocono, as these drivers have now gone basically single file. Looking back here to Aaron Mack chasing down Zach Vaughn after Zach chased everybody else and their cousin down. All of a sudden, he's starting to fall back as Brandon Minto in that number 12 Philadelphia Phillies Ford Mustang really barreling forward as he's on a recovery drive, down one from where he had begun, up in fifth position. But right now, our biggest mover of the evening is the godfather of Money House Racing, Mr. Leo Bonacasa, one of our big fans here at Sim Racing Media. Of course, on Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series Racing, brought to you by A Lot Cleaner Property Management and Maintenance. As Leo is now up 9 positions, running in 12th. It's almost like he knew something in advance when all hell broke loose on that opening lap. Speaking of when all hell broke loose, here's Chris Claude way off the pace as he is about 5 seconds behind Dan Morgan, and it's not getting any better for Chris. But, we talked at the top of our broadcast about, consistency, winning championships and getting yourself into, of course, the playoffs, which are oh so important here in the Xfinity Series. And I'll tell you what, folks, Chris will absolutely get us there, at least get himself into the playoffs with consistency. He may be in 17th position now, but he's probably counting on a lot of other drivers not being able to finish this race and picking up those other spots that are going to be available. "13 of 90 laps in the books so far, working our way toward lap number 20. As Bennett Allen, our race leader in the B-Blaze Vintage JCTV Chevrolet Camaro, leads the way here at Pocono Raceway. He's followed by Mike Wright, Eugenio Alonso, and Joseph Lester. Bennett Allen, our race leader, he's followed by Mike Wright, Eugenio Alonso, Joseph Lester, Brandon Minto. That's your top 5. Take a look right now at Rich Jett in the number 77 Washington Nationals Chevrolet Camaro. Of course, this league, as we have mentioned, week in and week out, very Chevy heavy. It's just 3 blue ovals in the field tonight. That leaves only room for 5 Toyotas. Everybody else, a bunch of bow ties. Side by side goes Eugenio Alonso and Mike Wright as we are basically single file. Eugenio Alonso securing away second position while Bennett Allen's going to work his way around the number 62 of John Wilco. Of course, Wilco involved in that lap 1 wreck earlier in the Detroit Tigers Chevrolet Camaro, kind of looking like a street stock modified car right now. And I'll tell you what, he thought that he was going to have a perfect game, and all of a sudden Jim Joyce came out of nowhere and told Andres Galarraga, no, sir, no perfecto for you tonight, as now it looks like he's going to have to cede another piece of real estate away to Joseph Lester. Looking back here at Aaron Mack in the number 31 Harbor Freight Chevrolet, as right now he's still trying to get back up to 6th position. He's going to look to the inside now of R.P. Allen, but he chooses better of it. Meanwhile, John Wilco just trying to get out of everyone's way. He's high up against the wall, trying to give everybody enough room. And right now, this is probably the most stressful he's going to get because, you know, as he's trying to stay high, whether he's high on the outside or the inside of that exit, or, you know, coming on turn exit, everybody else is trying to swing to the outside and use that momentum, and there he is kind of in their way. But right now, it looks like John Wilco going to be holding on for dear life as the big pack gets around him. Meanwhile, Aaron Mack starting to close in on starting to be closed in on by R.P. Allen as he is now chasing down Brandon Minto, who's about 1.2 seconds ahead of him. So a long way to go for Aaron Mack as we're on lap 17 of 90 here in the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series, brought to you by A Lot Cleaner Property Management and Maintenance, live here on Sim Racing Media. Glad to be with you here in our Norristown, Pennsylvania studios, as Aaron Mack still trying to get her done here at Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Oh! All of a sudden, R.P. Allen just bites the wall. Manages to keep it together, though, as R.P. Allen now ceding away that 8th position to Nicholas Breidenbach. Breidenbach now your biggest mover of the evening here in the number 24 Bell South Mobile Chevrolet Camaro. Of course, a little bit of a throwback scheme considering Bell South hasn't existed for, somewhere in and around 20 years. Lap number 18 of 90 as we've got about 2.5 laps to the end of stage number 1 right now. All of a sudden, Joseph Lester diving down pit road. Not sure what he's thinking as pit road is still open, but right now it will be closing. So entrance to pit road. Just 2 laps left now in stage number 1, as we've had a pretty uneventful stage number 1. Of course, checking in with one of our past Truck Series champion drivers. We're both hoping for a little bit more excitement here at Pocono as we're on lap number 19, and as Eugenio Alonso crosses the start-finish line, we're racing back to that green and white checkered flag. He's chased down by Bennett Allen and Mike Wright. Brandon Minto and Aaron Mack, of course, these drivers all looking for those important bonus points as we get ever closer to the playoffs here in 2023. All of a sudden, Joseph Lester in danger of being put down a lap as he's getting back up to speed. Now the last car in the lead lap is Joseph Lester, down 16 as he had started on outside pole. Eugenio chasing him through turn number 2. That's the tunnel turn, of course, where equipment can get in and out through the tunnel, hence the term. Eugenio Alonso and Bennett Allen ready to do battle here on this final lap Bennett Allen and Mike Wright doing battle on this final lap as they come out of turn 3 back to the front stretch. Looks like maybe Mike Wright looks to the inside but chooses to let Bennett Allen finish, as now we're simply waiting for Alexander Gangler to come out of turn 3 in the number 8 Toyota Supra. And as he rolls it out of there, maybe a little rub against the wall, he crosses the start-finish line, and that will conclude stage number 1. Eugenio Alonso brings home the green and white checkered flag for stage 1. He's followed by Bennett Allen, Mike Wright, Brandon Minto, Aaron Mack, Nicholas Breidenbach, Rich Jett, R.P. Allen, Zachary Vaughn, and Alexander Gangler. Those drivers all going to be assigned bonus points for the round. Of course, those bonus points range everywhere from 10 points for first place down to 1 point for 10th place. And quite frankly, at this stage in the season, you want to be collecting as many of those bonus points as you can, because that will help springboard you into the playoffs if you're right there on the bubble, or if anything, if you've lost out, if you're in 11th position, you fought hard like Leo Bonacasa, that can cost you that trip to the playoffs for 2023. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we'll see if we can get a hold of Eugenio Alonso, driver of the number 86. As we're going to get him on down here to the broadcast booth. Hey, Eugenio, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Hey, Dave, I got you, man.
Hey, man, listen, congratulations here on the Stage 1 win. You know, I know that all season long you've been looking for that trip to Victory Lane. How's that Chevrolet Camaro feeling tonight?
Yeah, the car is feeling really good in long run. I need to try to save my car in one piece.
Yeah, it looks like it was pretty hard for a lot of drivers.
Keeping doing fast. Yeah.
It looked like it was hard for a lot of the drivers toward the rear of the field to keep a clean car tonight on that lap 1 incident, but obviously you were far ahead of it. You know, now looking here into stage 2, did you make any adjustments, or are you going to go with what you got?
No, I have a adjustment for the end of the race, but now I keep doing with the same set.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, congratulations on the Stage 1 win, and maybe we'll see you here as we march toward Victory Lane, buddy.
Thank you, man. I hope that.
All right. That, of course, Jackdaw Motorsports' very own Eugenio Alonso, as he's going to bring it down pit road here. Of course, our pace laps here are going to be nice and slow tonight, as, you know, 2.5 miles to get around the tricky triangle is a lot to handle for any driver, even at race speed. And, of course, at pace speed, it's even harder to maintain your composure and your patience, as Joseph Lester now going to cycle all the way up into P1 as he came down at the end of stage number 2. Or, I'm sorry, at the end of stage number 1. The lights are out here on the iRacing.com pace car as we're going to have about 16 laps to the end of stage number 2, a pretty good stage 1. As just we had mentioned a moment ago, Eugenio Alonso bringing home the green and white checkered flag here at the conclusion of stage number 1. But for lack of a better term, a very uneventful beginning to this race, which, you know, for some drivers can be good, for other drivers can be bad. Of course, right now for drivers that can be bad, John Wilco here in the number 62, of course, his hometown track didn't exactly treat him very well. So when we get restarted, it's going to be Joseph Lester and Eugenio Alonso on row number 1. Joseph Lester now opting for the outside lane for the restart. They'll be followed by Nicholas Breidenbach and Brandon Minto. Alexander Gangler getting himself here up into the top 5. Aaron Mack, Mike Wright, Bennett Allen, Rich Jett, and Lauren Jones make up your top 10. As Lauren Jones, one of the drivers who opted to start from pit road, has now decided that paid off pretty well for him as he runs here in the top 10, so up 9 from where he had begun. The iRacing.com pace car leads us into turn number 3, makes that hard left turn down pit road. We enter the Geico restart zone. The man in the stand has the green flag in his hand, and we're back underway. 28 laps in the books, 29 when we cross the stripe this time. Eugenio Alonso going fastest here at 54.94 seconds in race trim that time by. Very impressive for Eugenio, as now he has become the Pied Piper of Pocono, if you will. Meanwhile, a battle starting to break out here between Nicholas Breidenbach and Bennett Allen. Further back in the field, though, Brandon Minto in that Philadelphia Phillies number 12 Ford Mustang, getting ready to go at it here with R.P. Allen, of course, big brother Bennett, running up in third position right now, but R.P. trying to hold off Brandon Minto, as the native of Norman, Oklahoma, is here on turn number 2, the tunnel turn, getting here underneath. Most of these drivers have gone single file. A little knot here just ahead of them, as Joseph Lester has a three-way battle right now. Alexander Gangler up into 6th position, up 3 from where he had begun, restarted here in 5th in that Chicago Blackhawks paint scheme. Of course, the Chicago Blackhawks ending the Philadelphia Flyers Stanley Cup run back in 2010, as we are under caution and Lauren Jones has crashed. Let's see what happened with Lauren, as we can see that number 11 Cheetos machine coming right up on the rear of Aaron Mack. They haul it down here into turn number 1, and we can start to see the rear end of the 11 kicking out. And there it is, that spin. We had talked about it in our pre-race with Brandon Minto and Mike Wright, and there it was. Boom goes the dynamite for Lauren Jones. But, you know, listen, the young man has plenty of time to get it back together, as we'll take one more look at that. As we can see, Lauren, once again, we can already see the rear end of that number 11 start to kick out here on the entry to turn number 1. Obviously, he was trying to walk it through and hold on for dear life and just could not do it any further. We'll take one more look from the cockpit of the 11, and we're going to start to see him fighting this wheel coming down into turn number 1. There it is. All of a sudden, nothing but tight in that rear end kicking. He's trying, he gets to collect it, and, oh, right there into that inside wall safer barrier. So with 10 laps to go now in stage number 2, we're under caution for the second time tonight. And we're going to step aside and pay some bills here on Sim Racing Media. Welcome back to the Tricky Triangle here at Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Dave Regal here in the Sim Racing Media broadcast booth live in Norristown, Pennsylvania. Glad to have all of you with us tonight here on Facebook and YouTube.com. Of course, if you haven't done so already, make sure that you check in and give us a thumbs up and make sure that we know who you're pulling for here in our live chat. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you subscribe, turn on those bell notifications so that you can be notified every time we go live here on Sim Racing Media. As we get ready to restart here, the iRacing.com pace car lights are out. Eugenio Alonso and Nicholas Breidenbach going to be on the front row with Joseph Lester, Bennett Allen, and Alexander Gangler making up your top five. The iRacing.com pace car looking to make that hard left turn down pit road. The green flag waves. We're in the Geico restart zone and we're back underway. Eugenio Alonso leads us down the front stretch. He's followed by Nicholas Breidenbach from Orlando, Florida, and Bennett Allen out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. As Bennett Allen got a little too close to Joseph Lester here going into turn one. Side by side, please, as we are 2x2 going into turn number one. Alexander Gangler running in sixth position alongside the great one, Mike Wright, in that number 98 Baltimore Orioles, number 98 Ford Mustang. Brandon Minto in that Philadelphia Phillies paint scheme. This is nothing but an NL East battle right now as Rich Jett in the double natural falls victim to Brandon Minto. As we roll it out of turn three, Aaron Mack still side by side here with Leo Bonacasa. Zach Vaughn just behind them. As wow, all of a sudden, Philadelphia's very own Joe Stafford gets to the inside in that M&M's paint scheme as he hauls it down here into turn number one. I believe that's an M&M's paint scheme. I'm not really sure what that is coming out that left front fender of the 57, but we're on lap number 35, 6 to go here in stage number two. Just two cautions for cause tonight as Eugenio Alonso has become the Pied Piper of Pocono here on Monday Night NASCAR. Alexander Gangler trying to regain sixth position away from RP Allen as they are doing battle like crazy going into the tunnel turn. Looks like RP got a good run into the tunnel turn on the low side. He hangs Gangler out to dry. That makes all of a sudden a Gangler sandwich between Minto and Allen. As we now have 5 to go in stage two, Brandon Minto looking to the inside of Alexander Gangler. Gangler getting shoved way outside in that Blackhawks paint scheme as the Phillies are triumphant here on the number 12. Everybody getting ready to slide back in single file as Dan Morgan here in the number 72 works the inside of Matt Mettler, making the pass and shuffling Mettler into 15th position just ahead of Chris Claude, the last car here on the lead lap, as Chris was involved in that very first wreck on the very first lap here in turn number 3. So Chris on his recovery drive up to 16th position, chasing down teammate Matt Mettler in the 64. Right now it goes Eugenio Alonso, Bennett Allen, Joseph Lester, Nicholas Breidenbach, and Mike Wright, your top 5. Mike Wright looking to the inside of Breidenbach as we haul it down here into turn number 3. Nearly a flat turn as he's got trouble in front of him with Joseph Lester side by side with Bennett Allen in the B-Blaze Vintage JCTV.com Chevrolet Camaro. Lester trying to hold on here in that Barbie paint scheme as they are 2, 3, and 4 all the way back here single file to Breidenbach, who's looking for any kind of an opening. Mike Wright now looking to the outside. Eugenio Alonso with a 1.2 second lead over Bennett Allen and the remainder of the field. Right now, though, Mike Wright trying to close in on Nicholas Breidenbach with 3 laps to go here in stage number 2. He looks to the inside of Breidenbach. Breidenbach holding his own here as we're going to go right to the drone cam and look to see what happens here with Mike Wright as he dives here on the inside quarter panel of the 24. Once again, Joseph Lester going to pit road here on lap number 39, just like he did at the end of stage number 1. He's going to pit early. So obviously we'll be getting a chance to talk to him momentarily at the end of this stage as Eugenio Alonso going to run away here with 2 laps to go in stage number 2. As Eugenio Alonso comes out of turn number 3, he's going to see that stripe, and all of a sudden, the white flag going to wave here for stage number 2. It's Alonso, Allen, Breidenbach, Wright, and Minto, your top 5. Right now, a hot battle breaking out, though, between RP Allen and Rich Jett. As Rich Jett in that Washington Nationals paint scheme going to bring along RP Allen. A lot of great baseball paint schemes tonight. Of course, Joe Stafford from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, not one of them, but he's going to round out your top 10 once we come back around to the stripe. Eugenio Alonso in the number 86. Rolls it out of turn number 3. He can see that green and white checkered flag waving. He's followed by Bennett Allen by about 7/10 of a second. Nicholas Breidenbach a little further back here. That will conclude stage number 2. Stage 2 goes like this: Eugenio Alonso, Bennett Allen, Nicholas Breidenbach, Mike Wright, Brandon Minto, Rich Jett, RP Allen, Aaron Mack, Alexander Gangler, and Joe Stafford. Your top 10 going to be awarded bonus points here at the end of stage 2. Of course, Eugenio Alonso going to get 10 bonus points once again, so he's got 20 bonus points on the night so far for the playoffs. Bennett Allen going to get 9, 8 to Nicholas Breidenbach, and it goes down to 1 point for Joe Stafford, the pride of Philadelphia, in the number 57. Hey, Eugenio, it's Dave up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Deb, I got you.
Well, man, once again, you bring home the green and white checkered flag here as you have swept the first 2 stages at Pocono. Obviously, that Nitro Chevrolet Camaro feeling pretty good tonight.
Yeah, the set is really good, really fast in the long run. I feel great.
Yeah, you definitely have a long-run setup tonight. The only person that I'm ever worried about when it comes to long-run setups is usually Mike Wright, as he is usually the long-run setup king. But tonight, it looks like you might be heading for victory lane on your way home to Buenos Aires.
Yeah, I hope that, but never forget Mike. Mike always is fast at the end.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, you know, as far as trying to make that car of yours too wide, how are you thinking about defending that lead?
Yeah, I will defend them hard. This guy is trying to kill me, and I be fight for the win.
I understand. All right, buddy. Well, listen, good luck on your pit stop. Drive it like you stole it. Maybe we'll see you in victory lane.
See you, man. Thank you.
And right now we want to talk to the Boy King, driver of the number 84, Mr. Joseph Lester out of Damascus, Virginia. Obviously, the road to Damascus goes through Long Pond tonight, Joseph. How are you feeling tonight?
Well, the 86 is a little bit mad at me, but it seems like that's how it is every week nowadays. But other than that, car feels a little snug. Not much I can do about it, though.
Well, now two stages in a row, you came down with just right before they closed pit road. What's your strategy here?
It's just track position. Eugenio got a better start than me last time, and he was able to clear me, which wasn't the greatest. But it's really about track position. You just got to run as slow as you can on your outlap, so you don't burn up your tires. And then once you get that track position, it's all about making that car as wide as possible.
Absolutely. How's your foot feeling as you're on recovery there from your injury?
This is the first time I've had it out of my boot other than when I'm sleeping. So it's not really that hurt. It doesn't hurt that bad. But it seems like it's getting a little bit better.
Excellent. Well, that's good to hear. I mean, all things considered, you were still pretty darn good with the broken foot, or with the injured foot, that is. But all right, man. Well, listen, good luck the rest of the way, and maybe we'll see you here toward victory lane.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you.
That, of course, the Boy King, Joseph Lester from Damascus, Virginia. I'll tell you what, that young man is one of the most talented people you're going to see on the iRacing.com servers. I mean, week in and week out, he is out here practicing and laying down some incredible laps on the servers. And tonight is no different, as he's got a little bit of a different strategy from the other drivers. Now, once we go back green flag racing, we're going to have 45 laps to go. We'll be going back green at lap 45. 90 is where the checkered flag will fly. And a lot of these drivers have already gotten themselves into a pretty interesting predicament. And speaking of interesting predicaments, I do want to check in here with Chris Claude before we go back green. Hey, Chris, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
I do.
Hey, listen, before we get going back green flag racing, a rough start there for you at the beginning of this race, but obviously you've been trying to recover pretty well. You're still on the lead lap. What are you thinking going here into the final stage?
Just try to stay out of any more trouble, and I'm hoping to be able to get another top 10 tonight and keep this paint scheme going. That's what happened in the Cup car. I thought my race was pretty much over, and it just kept getting damage fixed and kept working on it, and I was there at the end like I normally try to be, so hopefully more of the same tonight.
All right, man. Well, listen, good luck the rest of the way, and I'm sure you're going to be out there laying those laps down the best that you can in that damage number 10. The other question I have for you is, what's up with the cellular, with the Verizon wireless paint scheme here? I mean, it's obviously cellular sale time. No Dasani tonight.
Like I said, just mixing it up, and I'm a Verizon customer and a supporter of theirs, so I just thought I would just try something I'm familiar with.
All right, well, I'm sure the fine people at Xfinity Mobile are very pleased to see you out there on the racetrack. Good luck as we go back green flag racing.
All right, thanks, Dave.
As the green flag flies, we're back underway here at Pocono Speedway for stage number 3 in the Alok Premier Property Management Maintenance Xfinity Series. and under caution already here on the opening lap of stage 3. Not sure what happened here. We're going to have to run this back, that's for sure. Looks like this may involve the 98 machine. We'll see what happened here. Taking a look from our drone cam high above the raceway here, as we can see the 98 getting a little bit of a nudge from Nicholas Breidenbach, a second nudge, and that turns the 98. I'm sure that the 98's got a little something to say for that, as it looks like he got double doinked in no way that looked friendly, that's for sure, as we're going to look from the chopper cam. As we get to the chopper, we're going to see the 98 here on the inside of Matt Metler. They go 3 wide into turn number 1. Breidenbach here on the high side going to drop low and, gets right a little loose and then just finishes him off. And, of course, the real turner happened to be Alexander Gangler, but Gangler had no place to go in that. As we're looking for our race footage from the number 8 car. Of course, there I was accidentally looking for Alexander's former number, the 82. But of course, he just took a number right from yours truly. As we get back underway, he's here on the front stretch. We can see Breidenbach make the move. There's the second, and it just spins Mike Wright up into Alexander Gangler. Going to take a look right here from Breidenbach's point of view. Nicholas Breidenbach gets 1. He was actually decelerating when he caught Mike Wright. So he may have been, and then, my goodness, Dan Morgan up in front of him. I didn't even get a chance to see the Dan Morgan incident here coming out of turn number 1. So we'll take a moment here and go to Dan Morgan. Let's take a look right here at Dan Morgan. It looks like he was 3 wide and just washed up the track right in front of Eugenio Alonso. Eugenio able to plow him out of the way, as that was actually long after the initial issue that brought out this caution. So all of a sudden, our race leader, who just swept stages 1 and 2, Eugenio Alonso, shifted all the way back to 14th position. Joseph Lester leading this piece now in the number 84. He's followed by Ferda Motorsports driver Brandon Minto as we get ready to go back double file for a rack stack and ready to go again. Rich Jett in the 77, that double natural Washington Nationals paint scheme going to be restarting on the inside of row number 2. Rich Jett in 4th, R.P. Allen in 5th. So as we get ready to get restarted here on lap number 48, it'll be 49. As the iRacing.com pace car leads us out, it's going to be Lester, Minto, Stafford, Jett, Allen, Bonacasa, Allen, Metler, Aaron Mack, and Chris Claude, your top 10. And as we had just mentioned a moment ago, I mean, Chris Claude is clawing his way up through the standings tonight here as the iRacing.com pace car brings us into turn number 3. We can see the man in the stand gets the green flag in his hand. The field coming out of turn number 3 here at the Tricky Triangle. The iRacing.com pace car makes the hard left down pit road. We enter the Geico restart zone, and we're back underway here at Pocono Raceway. Joseph Lester getting a jump over the rest of the field. He's going to lead us down here into turn number 1. Takes a little bit of a high line and then cuts the nose right off of Brandon Minto in that Philadelphia Phillies number 12. In fact, I'm going to have to get with Brandon Minto and talk to him about the color of those wheels. I do have the hex code for that chrome wheel there for Phillies blue, so I'll have to get with him. Meanwhile, Rich Jett in the double natural, the number 77, he's going to follow in here just behind Minto by about 16/10 of a second. Meanwhile, Bennett Allen now doing battle with little brother RP just behind Philadelphia, Pennsylvania's very own Joe Stafford. The Allen brothers side by side. It almost looks like the Bush brothers. They suddenly decide to go single file, as right now one of our closer battles is Leo Bonacasa just behind RP Allen. The godfather of all that is Money House Racing, trailing RP Allen by 2/10 of a second. And Chris Claude suddenly doing battle with former race leader Mike Wright, of course, our winner last week at New Hampshire in the number 98 Baltimore Orioles Ford Mustang. Of course, my partner Matt Metler maybe needs a dose of chicken cock whiskey as he rolls it out of turn number 3. They come out of 3 back toward the front stretch, and it looks like Matt Metler could use a double on the rocks. Running through the field right now, Joseph Lester, Bennett Allen, Brandon Minto, and Rich Jett, your top 4. They're doing battle right now with RP Allen right on their tail as the number 7 Microsoft Toyota Supra is trying desperately to get caught up here to Rich Jett. I'd be lying if I told you that I'm not pulling for Brandon Minto, because at this point the Philadelphia Phillies can use any success they can, as right now he has that number 12 Philadelphia Phillies Ford Mustang cranked as hard as he can go. Oh, RP Allen takes the outside of the wall as we are here on lap number 52 of 90 in Monday Night NASCAR's A Lot Cleaner Xfinity Series, live here in the Sim Racing Media broadcast booth in Norristown, Pennsylvania. Of course, yours truly always here at the microphone with you every week of our season, as RP Allen is now loose as a goose coming out of 2 into turn 3. Brandon Minto leading Rich Jett. Oh, goodness gracious. RP Allen cannot stay away from the wall as we're still green flag racing here on lap number 53. Not sure what's going on with RP. Let's take a ride along with him, and we can see whether or not he is just fighting a desperately loose race car. Forgive me, all of a sudden I couldn't get the words out of my mouth. As Rich Jett, one of your two biggest movers of the night, as well as Leo Bonacasa, of course, as I mentioned, the godfather of Money House Racing, up 12 positions after starting 21st here, just second from the rear once we took the green flag. Bennett Allen and Joseph Lester doing battle down the backstretch, that Long Pond backstretch. I'll tell you what, lots of good camping there on one side of the fence as Bennett Allen all but throwing the block in front of Lester. This is going to be the battle to watch as we come into the tunnel turn just on the inside here from the race office, that little white house there. Of course, I say little white house, but it's a big office, and they run the entire operation right from there as Bennett Allen manages to get in front of Lester, the boy king out of Damascus, Virginia. It's a battle from Tennessee and Virginia as we come back onto the front stretch. As the drivers wheel it here out of turn number one and go back down the backstretch, all of a sudden, Bennett Allen has found his stride ahead of Joseph Lester. Brandon Minto running in third, Rich Jett in fourth, RP Allen rounding out your top five. Chris Claude, though, now has worked his way up into 13th position after being involved in that lap one wreck earlier this evening as the number 10 Verizon Cellular Toyota Supra is making his way back through the field. Leo Bonacasa here running in 10th position, rounding out your top 10, chasing down Mike Wright, who was just involved in that wreck with Alexander Gangler. Meanwhile, Gangler trying to recover from that, now down a couple of laps here, just about 8 laps, running in 17th position. So obviously not a good night for him after that incident earlier. As our former race leader, Eugenio Alonso, has now worked his way back up into 7th position. And at this point, he's pretty much working his way back up toward that top 5. And we're going to see him challenge for the lead here in the late stage of the race. Joseph Lester here in his probably, I believe it's his 4th season now in the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series, just ahead of Brandon Minto. Brandon Minto in his 2nd season now in the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series. He's driving, of course, a Philadelphia Phillies paint scheme just ahead of Rich Jett and a Washington Nationals paint scheme. And I'll tell you what, a lot of these drivers in these baseball schemes tonight trying to celebrate Hall of Fame week in the baseball world. And I'll tell you what, seeing Scott Rowland be inducted into the Hall of Fame was something exciting for me. Of course, getting to watch him play in Reading, Pennsylvania in the Phillies AA system many, many moons ago. And, of course, the Washington Nationals, of course, gifting us Bryce Harper a couple of years ago, one of the highest paid players in baseball at that time. So kind of an interesting run here as it goes Phillies Nationals. Bennett Allen, though, he's currently leading this piece as there's our feed. Speaking of the Phillies and the Orioles, the I-95 series goes final tonight here in South Philadelphia with the Phillies falling to the Orioles 3-2. Looks like Craig Kimbrell coughed up the loss late in that game in South Philly. But, one of the nice things about baseball is that there always is tomorrow, even when you're a Phillies fan. Most of these race car drivers strung out single file like a row of LED lights at Christmas as Bennett Allen, Joseph Lester, Brandon Minto, Rich Jett, R.P. Allen, Aaron Mack, Eugenio Alonso, Philadelphia's very own Joe Stafford, Leo Bonacasa, and Nicholas Breidenbach make up your top 10. We're going to step aside here on Sim Racing Media and pay some bills on the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series, brought to you by A Lot Cleaner Property Management and Maintenance. Welcome back to Pocono Raceway as the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series, brought to you by the A Lot Cleaner Property Management and Maintenance Company, is going 63 laps deep so far, as there are 63 in the books. Green flag pit stops underway as Nicholas Breidenbach came down pit road. So did Matt Mettler, as Matt Mettler actually went down a lap. That'll make him the lucky dog if we have a caution come out. Looks like R.P. Allen also going to be making his money stop, as we are live here in the Norristown, Pennsylvania studios of Sim Racing Media. Glad to be with you tonight. Bennett Allen and Joseph Lester still doing battle up here, but Rich Jett quietly closing in on Brandon Minto by about 1/2 of a second between those two drivers. A lot of our race getting strung out pretty single file as those tires starting to give way, but Joseph Lester not ready to give up, that's for sure, here behind Bennett Allen. Side by side goes Bennett Allen and Joseph Lester. This is going to be quite a battle here coming down the front stretch as Joseph Lester on the inside left quarter panel of the 15. That B-Blades vintage Chevrolet Camaro trying to hold off the Barbie machine. As the Barbie Dream Car hauls it down into turn number 1, we start to see the sun going down here on Pocono Raceway. And, of course, this one of those raceways that does not have lighting. So we're going to absolutely have to get this race in before the end of daylight here in sim time. But 65 laps in the books here at Pocono. And I'll tell you what, this racetrack nestled into the Pocono Mountains in northeastern Pennsylvania. Quite an interesting region, as most of this region was developed as basically a getaway, so to speak. Brandon Minto and Eugenio Alonso coming down pit road. But most of this area settled as a getaway for folks from Philadelphia and New York to try to get out of the hot cities during the summer. Of course, you know, a lot of coal magnates from that time, a lot of railroad magnates of the time back in the early 20th century making their summer homes here in the Pocono Mountains. Of course, Asa Packer of Pennsylvania Railroad fame calling Jim Thorpe, or at that time would have been Mock Chunk, his summer home just a few minutes away, literally 35 minutes away down in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, right down 903 from the racetrack. And what a great town if you want to go visit. You may not want to live there, but you can certainly visit there. Rich Jett making way around this racetrack. Of course, the 62 of McAdoo, Pennsylvania's very own John Wilco. And, of course, John Wilco involved in that lap 1 wreck earlier on tonight, ended his competition for this race. Of course, we'll see him tomorrow night in the Tuesday Night NASCAR Truck Series, brought to you by Jack Dow Simulators and Esports, right here on Sim Racing Media. Same bat time, same bat channel. As we turn lap number 67 of 90, Joseph Lester now putting some distance between himself and Bennett Allen. They're going green on the gap line. That's for sure, but we're going to see a lot of this field cycle through now as now Lester drops down pit road and lets Bennett Allen lead this lap uncontested. Of course, Pennsylvania home to a lot more than coal regions and so on and so forth. Of course, right there in central Pennsylvania, about an hour and a half, almost 2-hour drive from the Poconos is Hershey, Pennsylvania. You can go down there, right down 81 from up here. Of course, when I say up here, right where Route 80 and 81 cross in Hazleton, Pennsylvania, you can get on 81 South and head on down to Hershey, Pennsylvania. You can catch yourself a great tour of Hershey's Chocolate World. Of course, you can always get yourself a free piece of Hershey's candy at the end of that tour. Maybe a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, maybe a Hershey bar, you never know. Usually that's the place where they get rid of all the Mr. Good bars because they're just not really that good at all. In fact, they should probably be Mr. Not So Good bar in my opinion, but the Reese's Cup, definitely my favorite, that's for darn sure. Aaron Mack, your current race leader here on lap number 69 as they roll out of turn 3. He's going to stay out on the racetrack as he last came down on lap number 42. It's Aaron Mack, Rich Jett, and Chris Claude who last came down back on 42. Mike Wright, of course, here in the number 98 Baltimore Orioles Ford Mustang, just ahead of Joseph Lester, came down on 58. Lester, though, like a freight train, driving right past Mike Wright as if he's not even there. Manages to re-secure 4th position on his drive back to the front. Once we get pit stops out of Claude, Jett, and Mack, we should see Lester cycle back to the lead. Anyway, as I had mentioned, once you get that, if you're up here at the racetrack, once you get that Reese's Cup or Hershey bar at the end of the Chocolate World ride, maybe visit Hershey Park, that is, a great little theme park there in central PA. You can come back on north up into the coal regions, maybe get yourself a cold Yingling brew. Of course, I always suggest that you make sure that you get yourself a Yingling Premium. It's not that lager that they try to overmarket, but Yingling Premium, only available here in Pennsylvania. Aaron Mack coming down pit road. But Yingling Premium not available outside of Pennsylvania. It's just a good old-fashioned beer. In fact, I always called it the Archie Bunker beer. Something simple, something, plain, and delicious at the same time, refreshing. Of course, you can also check out a Pilsner or Lord Chesterfield Ale. They have quite a variety out of America's oldest brewery, opening first in 1829 in Pottsville, PA. The D.G. Yingling & Son Brewery. But plenty to do here in the mountains, of course. Just down the road in the wintertime, Jack Frost Big Boulder, right around Lake Harmony. Of course, as I had mentioned earlier, Lake Harmony home to the Split Rock Resort. A lot of folks that go camping here for the race wind up staying at Lake Harmony, just a few minutes away. I mean, literally a stone's throw from the racetrack. Long Pond itself, a tiny little sleepy village right up until race week. And, of course, up until a couple of years ago, we had 2 races a year on the Cup schedule for Pocono. Rich Jett in the 77 Washington Nationals paint scheme still out here, last coming down on 42. He's followed by Chris Claude, as Claude now has about an 11-second lead over Joseph Lester. Of course, Lester closing fast, as if he's got a tractor beam on the rear of the number 10. $18 to go here at Pocono Raceway. Just a short drive away once again. Here's the thing. Pocono itself is a destination all by itself. It's in the middle of nowhere, so if you're going to the race in Pocono, you better be prepared to drive to see anything else if you're up here on race weekend in northeastern Pennsylvania. Another short drive up to Scranton, Pennsylvania. Of course, the home to Dunder Mifflin, for those of you who are fans of The Office. And the birthplace of some other guy. I'm not really sure who he was. And the Steamtown National Park, of course, a railroad park where you can go see where steam still lives and breathes on our rails that come, that basically helped to build this country during the Industrial Revolution, the early part of the 19th century, the latter part of the 19th century. But Steamtown, definitely an exciting place. Also the home to the Scranton-Wilkes-Barre Penguins and the Scranton-Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders of the AAA International League. Then about 45 minutes south of the racetrack on I-476, the Pennsylvania Turnpike Northeast Extension, you can go on down to Allentown. Go check out the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, also members of the AAA International League. Of course, the Iron Pigs, the AAA affiliate of the Philadelphia Phillies. Rich Jett still leads this piece 15 seconds over Chris Claude, as that gap between Claude and Lester now down to 5.9 seconds. If I was Chris Claude, I would quick dive down pit road here before he goes down a lap, as there are now 17 to go in this piece. You know, and I had mentioned just a few moments ago about the Yuengling Brewery being a short drive from the racetrack here in Long Pond. Something interesting, during the era of Prohibition in the early part of the 20th century, of course, first brought around to get rid of alcohol use in the United States. When they couldn't sell beer, they sold near beer, which was like a non-alcoholic kind of deal. It tasted almost like beer, but it wasn't even close in many people's opinions. So to survive Prohibition, the Yuengling Brewery began to make ice cream right across the street from the original brewery on Montongo Street there in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. And that's how the Yuengling Brewery managed to survive Prohibition. And of course, they could keep that ice cream cold in the caves that are underneath the original brewery. Then, back in the early 2000s, plans were laid out and eventually followed through on to build a new brewery, which is just across the, it looks like a creek, but really it's the headwaters of the Schuylkill River. And the brewery on that side is now known as the Mill Creek Brewery or the Port Carbon Brewery. But the original brewery sits on top of caves, and that's where they were able to keep some of that ice cream cool enough during Prohibition. Of course, there are stories about keeping actual beer in those caves during Prohibition that were, of course, bootlegged and sold on the then black market for beer. $14 laps to go at Pocono. Rich Jett still holding on to a lead now, 14 seconds over Joseph Lester. Chris Claude thinks he can squeeze this one out as he last came down pit road on lap number 42. The only other driver to be out this long or close to this long, Alexander Gangler in the 8 machine on lap 46. And, of course, Rich Jett still leading this race. Chris Claude now wisely deciding to come down pit road. Chris Claude coming down pit road for service. We're going to see him make that hard left turn into the pit box for the number 10 machine. Obviously, we're going to see him take 4 tires. Here's the right side pops up. Once that drops back down, he'll be getting a tank of Go Fast and some Mr. Feelgoods there on the number 10. Little three-way battle here. Back further in the pack from the 86, the 98, and the 31. That's Eugenio Alonso, Mike Wright, and Aaron Mack. Aaron Mack now getting underneath Mike Wright as we go down the back chute into turn number 2. That's the tunnel turn. And as we roll out of 2, it looks like Mack is still going to have the edge over Mike Wright. That battle breaking up. Rich Jett still thinks he can hold his own over Joseph Lester, as he wants to see how far he can squeeze these 11 laps. Right now, the worst thing he could see would be a caution flag here as Joseph Lester is closing in like a homing missile on the double natural 77 of Rich Jett. Bennett Allen running in third, Brandon Minto in fourth. Eugenio Alonso rounds out your top five, followed by Aaron Mack, R.P. Allen, Mike Wright, Nicholas Breidenbach, and Zach Vaughn. Chris Claude coming back out onto the track as Rich Jett has decided he can't hold it together anymore. Going to come down and cede the lead away to Joseph Lester. While Rich Jett comes down and we reshuffle, we're going to step aside and pay some bills here at Sim Racing Media. Welcome back to Pocono Raceway here on the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series, brought to you by A Lot Cleaner Property Management and Maintenance. Joseph Lester leads the way ahead of Bennett Allen, Brandon Minto, and Aaron Mack, your top four. Eugenio Alonso, who had won stage 1 and 2, now rounds out the top five. It's been a long night here at Pocono. Just a few cautions for cause tonight, a couple of stage breaks, and of course those stages won by Eugenio Alonso as he is still trying to make his way back to the front of the field. But right now he is just very far behind Joseph Lester. At this point, 13.13 seconds, the distance between Lester and Alonso. In fact, we're going to switch here to our timing tower, which we don't often get to see at a track like this. But the times are becoming so far and few between that we almost have to start tracking these a little bit differently. 6 to go now here in the beautiful Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania. Usually a very exciting race here, but with just 22 drivers taking the green flag at the start of this piece, it's been a pretty quiet night so far in these hills. Bennett Allen trailing Joseph Lester by 3.8 seconds and getting further apart as we've now 3.85 seconds with 5 to go. Joseph Lester, who came into pit just before pit road closed at the conclusion of stages 1 and 2, it's now paid off where he came in early a couple of times and now gets to stay out late as he last came down on lap number 67. Everybody else around him basically in that same window, with the exception of Rich Jett, who stayed out to lead as long as he possibly could, but just knew that he couldn't hold it together. Bennett Allen came down on 68, Minto down on 65. So at this point, it's going to be all about, does somebody blink going here into this final stage? As we had mentioned before, this field Chevy heavy, and we can see that right here on the timing tower. Just a lot of bow ties here in the field tonight, and one leading this race that we definitely expected to see at some point, the boy king, Joseph Lester, the young man out of Damascus, Virginia, holding his own here in the Barbie Dream car. If Barbie dreamed of driving a Chevrolet Camaro instead of, a Corvette. This field has definitely gotten itself more strung out than usual, as there is a ton of gap between first and 10th position. Almost a full lap, 36 seconds the difference. From Joseph back to Chris Claude running in 11th place, it's 45 seconds. That's nearly a complete lap with now 3 to go. As Joseph rolls it out of turn number 3, comes back toward the start-finish line. The popsicle sticks go in the air. 2 to green. 2 to checkers. I'll tell you what, Alex. That's a pretty good story. Your favorite about Bill Elliott giving you a frozen Reese's Peanut Butter Cup when you were 8. That's something that can absolutely make or break someone's fandom in a sport. Of course, mine was Mike Lieberthal when I was about 7 at the Reading Phillies here just outside of Philadelphia. And, when you can make that personal connection with someone, I absolutely understand what you're talking about and what you're feeling. Of course, my favorite Peanut Butter Cup commercial used to be the one where they'd take the hair clippers and go across the top, because there's no wrong way to eat a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, apparently. Bennett Allen working behind Ron Fitting. The popsicle sticks go down. White flag in the air. We're racing back to checkers. It has been a long night here at Pocono. Of course, we're going to be back here tomorrow night for the Truck Series. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot more competitors tomorrow night with the Truck Series, brought to you by Jack Dow Simulators and eSports. I have never been able to say that easily for some reason. As Lester comes down the backstretch into turn number 2. He rolls out of turn number 3. The checkered flag goes in the air, and Joseph Lester, you are the man. Starting from the outside pole, gets himself up here across the start-finish line before everybody else. Joseph Lester wins the checkered flag here at Pocono in the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series, brought to you by A Lot Cleaner Property Management and Maintenance. He'll be joined on the podium tonight by Bennett Allen and Philadelphia Phillies number 12 Ford Mustang driver Brandon Minto. So at least I get to talk to a Phillies driver for the evening, as it's going to be Lester, Allen, and Minto. Aaron Mack, Eugenio Alonso, who won the first 2 stages. He finishes in 5th. Mike Wright finishes 6th. R.P. Allen in 7th. Rich Jett in 8th. Nicholas Breidenbach and Zachary Vaughn round out the top 10. And I'm sure we're going to see Joseph come down here and celebrate this victory. Austin Story commenting in our live chat, Joseph Lester for the GOAT position. As we're going to get Joseph here onto the broadcast. Hey, Joseph, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
I got you, buddy.
Hey, little buddy, listen. You decide, at least at the end of stages 1 and 2 to pit early, and obviously your strategy paid off as you showed everybody who's boss here at Pocono. How you feeling tonight?
Well, I don't know what happened at the start of stage 3 with Dan Morgan. He led us to green real weird. I think Mike Wright got caught up in that. Eugenio might have got some damage from that, but overall it was a very fun race. I wish Bennett didn't hit the wall. That would have been a fun way to end it, me and him. But other than that, I'm feeling great. This is exciting.
Yeah, obviously the Barbie Dream Car is not a Corvette anymore. It's a Chevrolet Camaro, and you've definitely made your dreams come true with that injured foot. I mean, I'm impressed to see everything that you do out on the racetrack. I've told you that for the last few years, and to do it here at what I consider to be my hometown track is always exciting to see who brings it home. And your buddy Austin is in our live chat letting us know that you are the GOAT, sir.
Well, this is my favorite track. You have a heck of a home track. Well, other than Bristol, this is my favorite track. But it's always fun to come here. I know I got a win taken away here in 2021. I still disagree with that call to this day, but it's always fun getting the win at Pocono. It's a very challenging track, probably the most challenging, other than Darlington, you can go to. But I've actually won here in Xfinity too, so it's fun to get my second win here.
Absolutely. Of course, my Jedi Master, Bob Nestor, and I always really enjoyed coming here. And, because, of course, Bob's dad used to be on the crash crew up here at Pocono. So for the two of us, it was always special. And to see you down here being so successful is always exciting. And to do it with, an injured leg there, in the walking boot, of course, now tonight, not in the boot, you have managed to tame the tricky triangle. And, looking forward to next week, what are you looking at as far as, strategy?
I believe next week's Road America, so we're looking to go back-to-back there. Well, I didn't win last year, but back-to-back this season. I love road courses, as you probably know. It's Bennett's best track, though, so he's going to be out there and giving me a hard time. But honestly, it's just always fun coming out here. It's been a long time coming. It's been too long since I've been in Victory Lane.
It absolutely has. Well, listen, congratulations. And before we cut you loose tonight, who do you need to tip that helmet to for this run tonight?
Well, first and foremost, I got to thank God for allowing me to be able to race, even with the injured foot. Got to thank Austin, Leo, Joe, Nick, Bennett, always there to support me. Go out, watch the Barbie movie, man. It's a very good movie. And then also Living Not Lumber for all your lumber needs.
All right, man. Well, listen, once again, congratulations on the win here at the Tricky Triangle. We'll see you next week for road racing at Road America, and have a good night.
Heck yeah, buddy. Nice to talk to you.
What's up, Dave? A little disappointed, to be honest. In all honesty, I hit the wall. I think it was like 2 or 3 laps before Joseph pitted, and then that's how he took the lead from me. And then I slid through my box by a centimeter. To where I had to throw in reverse and tap the gas just to get it in spot. So that cost me some time. I had about 12 and a half seconds of damage, and I obviously didn't take it because I would lose more time. All day was a battle. I probably shouldn't have put myself in that position with the speeding penalty after stage 2. But I mean, I finished second last year, and I'll finish second again. So I was really confident in the car tonight.
Yeah, you had every right to be confident in the car. I mean, here's the thing. You make those changes. Joseph decided to try to outmaneuver everybody strategy-wise. Came in early at the end of stages 1 and 2 and just managed to hold on to it a little bit longer than everybody else.
Yeah, he did. And that kind of cost him stage points, which maybe a little bit. I don't know where he ended up finishing in the stages. But I just didn't understand the reasoning behind that. Yeah, he got good track position, but we had a couple of yellows that would have killed that idea. And I don't know. He ran a good race. I'm not mad at the fact that he won because he's my best friend and I've known him for 3 years now. And I'm happy to see him win. I'm just frustrated because I made a couple mistakes that cost me the chance of racing him for the win. And I don't like making mistakes. I know we're human. We make mistakes all the time, and I make plenty of them. But it's just a little bit frustrating. And then finishing second this track 2 years in a row also kind of stabs you in the chest a bit. So, and I think he passes me and wins this season, which also hurts a little bit too. That's second place. I can't be mad about second place, but I knew I could have finished first. That's the only frustration. So, just huge thanks to everyone at MHR. And I race with them a lot. I'm starting to race with my brother more in official races, and I'm just trying to work on my craft a bit and find my limits. And just always a huge thanks to Bobby Blazer and B Blaze Vintage and JCTV and just everyone out there who supports me and what they do. And say this every time I get to be in the booth. I give all glory to God. It's just because we get to do this. It's cool, and I really do. I feel blessed to be able to do this every day and every week, even though sometimes it makes me angry. But yeah. I'll take second. We'll move on to Road America next week, which is where I won my first race last year. So we'll see what happens.
Well, maybe this will be where you turn it around and make that 2023 run. Of course, our reigning 2022 MNN Series champion, Bennett Allen, finishing second tonight. So, Bennett, congratulations on that podium finish. We will see you next week at Road America, and enjoy the rest of the evening, my friend.
Thanks, Dave.
Well, last but certainly not least, driver of my favorite paint scheme of the night, out of Norman, Oklahoma, Mr. Brandon Minto. Hey, Brandon, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Oh, I got you.
Listen, you made that Philadelphia Phillies paint scheme look real nice finishing in third tonight. Would have been nice to see in victory lane, but, what a drive you had. Obviously, you were set up for the long run.
I don't even know what the car was set up for. Honestly, tonight was one of the worst handling cars I feel like I've had. But it kind of came to at the end of stage 2 where, Mike and I, we were kind of talking through, and we thought we might have been hitting the bumps going into, turn 1. So we ended up raising the tire pressures and everything, getting the car off the track, and then it felt a lot better. But then even after that, it still didn't feel good. I felt like I still had decent speed on the long run, but I was compared to Joseph after he figured it out after that after the first stage, because right behind Joseph in the first stage, he was loose as all get out. And whenever I saw he pit a lap right after me, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm gonna be right behind Joseph. I know he's burning his tires up because his car's really loose. I thought I had a really good chance tonight, but then he changed something in that car, or he changed his driving style, and then he pulled away.
Yeah, sometimes all it takes is a tiny adjustment, just a little bit of a nudge, and it can take a good car and make it great, or it can make a bad car worse. And obviously Joseph made a good car great. And and even so, I know that Mike, when you guys are setting up your cars, is like a mad scientist, and 1 degree in track temperature can mean a huge swing in chassis adjustments, in these cars. And quite frankly, to me, the Xfinity Series cars are the most exciting to watch week in and week out. I mean, they're still the traditional setup, still the same suspension as we used to have in the Cup Series cars. But I mean, it's the tricky triangle. It's going to do tricky triangle things. And as we look forward to next week, we're going road course racing, and some drivers are going to be excited. Other drivers would much rather put their head into a wood chipper. How do you feel?
I'm one of those put my head in the wood chipper kind of guys. I do not like turning right at all. So this week, I'm probably going to have to put a lot of time here on the sim, like learning the track, because, what is it, Road America? Is that what you said? Road America next week?
Road America.
Yeah, like I do not know Road America at all. Like any of the other tracks that the Cup Series runs, it's like I know those tracks. I know Watkins Glen. I know I was about to call it Sears Point, Sonoma. Like I know those tracks. I'm not good at them, but I know those like tracks. I kind of know like when I need to turn. But Road America, I know nothing about. So I'm gonna have to put a lot of time in the sim this week.
Well, here's the thing, and I've said this 1,000 times here on the air. I mean, the tracks that we don't like are the ones that we put the most work in, just because you've got to get more comfortable in that racetrack. And I mean, here you are looking forward to it. It's like, gee, do I want to deal with this or do I not? And I know you as a driver are going to put the time in. You're going to put the time in the seat and get it right. And I'm sure you're still going to be competitive through that race. But before we cut you loose tonight, as always, who do you need to tip your cap to?
Yeah, as always, got to give a first shout out to my mom and dad. They're tuning in every week, watching me race. I'm glad I could at least get on the podium again, get another interview. My uncle, he's out there. He's tuned in this week watching, and sure he's drinking some Miller Lights or Miller High Life. I know he was drinking Miller High Life last week. I'm not sure if he went back to Miller Lights or if he's still on that Miller High Life. Or no, Genuine Draft. I think he did Genuine. I can't remember. But yeah, got to give a shout out to them. They tune in every single week, and I love like going back and seeing all the texts they send me throughout the race. Got to give a shout out to you for putting on an amazing broadcast. I love going back watching the races. And then my secondary sponsor tonight, Upside. Like I was driving past the gas stations today and realized gas prices jumped like 20 cents in like 5 hours somehow. I don't know. But go ahead and download the Upside app, and it'll get you an additional it'll get you a discount on gas prices and everything, and it'll get you an additional 15 cents per gallon discount if you use the promo code Brandon5623344, and that'll get you an additional 15 cents per gallon discount on your first tank of gas. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, my man. Well, listen, congratulations on the podium finish tonight. We'll see you next week at Road America, and go celebrate that podium finish with the rest of the team.
Absolutely. Have a good one, Dave. Go Phils.
Go Phillies, go. Well, it has been an exciting night here at Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. We have seen some incredible racing. Of course, the boy king, Joseph Lester, once again showing us why he is one day going to just dominate all that is iRacing. I mean, Joseph Lester, even dealing with an injury, managing to bring home the checkered flag and take a trip to victory lane here in the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania. Before we get out of here, we want to take one last look at our final results. Joseph Lester brings home the checkered flag, joined on the podium by Bennett Allen and Brandon Minto. Rounding out the top 5 are Aaron Mack and Eugenio Alonso. Mike Wright, R.P. Allen, Rich Jett, Nicholas Breidenbach, and Zachary Vaughn make up your top 10. The rest of the best belongs to Chris Claude in 11th, Matt Mettler in 12th, Dan Morgan, Steve Herring, Alexander Gangler, Ron Fitting, Leo Bonacasa, the godfather of Money House Racing, followed by Philadelphia's very own Joe Stafford, John Wilco out of McAdoo, Pennsylvania, finishing in 19th with Lorne Jones in 20th. Tony Burt brings home 21st, and just with one lap in, the 16 driven by Zach Osborne, finishing in 22nd. So a rough night for Osborne, a great night for Joseph Lester, and for everybody here at Sim Racing Media, including myself. Thanks for making us a part of your evening, because without you folks at home paying attention and seeing what we're doing, it wouldn't be worth getting up and getting here in front of the microphone every day. And tomorrow, as you go through your day, just remember, you're special just the way you are. You're the only one like you, and that's fine. Good night, everybody.